What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Yuminski, back at it with yet another review. And today we are reviewing the final film in our Karate Kid review series. That, of course, being the newest film that came out today. That, of course, being Karate Kid Legends. But before you get sexual, beginning of the video of itself, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free. Number two, also maybe help with the YouTube algorithm, recommend it to more people, and maybe they could join the cast. And you feel free to comment your thoughts on Karate Kid Legends down below. But with that being said, guys, let's give a quick plot synopsis of the film, shall we? So transition and shoes, After moving to New York City with his mother, Kung Fu prodigy Li Fong struggles to let go of the past as he tries to fit in with his new classmates. When a new friend needs his help, Li enters a karate competition, but his skills alone aren't enough. With help from Mr. Han and Daniel LaRusso, he soon learns to merge two styles into one for the ultimate martial arts showdown. And as well, if you missed my previous reviews of all the films in this franchise, they're on a playlist on my YouTube channel, by the way. But going into Karate Kid Legends, this is, of course, what the review series has been building up to. And also, I will be posting a ranking coming out tomorrow. So, this is what it was building up to, why I decided to do the review series. And so, for little spoilers for my reviews of the previous movies, I like three of them. I think one is okay, and then I think one is downright bad. And for this one, I was going, okay, I'm kind of excited for it, because they're bringing, from the first trailer, it had me a little excited, because they're bringing back Mr. Han from the Karate Kid 2010 remake, with Jackie Chan returning in the role, so it's officially canon in the main Karate Kid timeline, which I actually do like, and I was very happy with. So, and then when the movie had its premiere a few weeks ago, all the early reviews were not the best, to say the least. So that had me very, very worried. So I was going like, oh no, please don't be another bad Karate Kid movie. So, with that being said, let's just see what I think of the film, actually, shall we? Alright, so starting off with the good here, I do think that the main protagonist in here of Li Fang, played by Ben Wang, is a actually pretty decent little lead for this film. I think he has a certain charisma about him that makes him stand out compared to other Karate Kid characters, and I did enjoy him in the film. Also do think that the karate fights in here are pretty good as well. The main fight at the end is definitely really good. And they stay consistent with that throughout the whole entire franchise. Like, the only movie... I think the only movie that has a bad fight in this franchise is probably Next Karate Kid. That's the only one. But all the other ones have pretty decent fights. So, there's no difference here. I still think it has some pretty good fights in the film. I also, as well, thought that the post-credit scene in this film was a blast, and it was kind of cool to see. It's a laugh post-credit scene, but also it's just it's a nice scene from the Karate Kid, if you're a fan of the Karate Kid franchise. So I enjoyed that, and I was surprised by it. I was going like, oh, that's cool. I didn't expect that to happen. That was awesome. And the final good I have in here is the first half of the film. So the film basically tells two halves. The first half takes things in a very different direction, which, from what I've seen, it looks like I'm in the minority, but I really enjoyed the first half, where it's a different direction for the Karate Kid franchise. The second half, it's a little bit different. And I kind of wish the movie just explored that first half. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is the good done. Now let's move on to the mixed aspects of the film. The parts I'm 50-50 about. And the first one I have in here is the visuals in the karate fights. So, in this, the fights themselves are decent. But then they also do this thing, particularly, like, later on in this film, where they add some sort of, like, graphics that kind of seem like they're from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know what the term for them is called, but they, like, implement them into the visuals for the fight. Like, it will say, round one, and it's kind of like Street Fighter-esque. And I It did look decent, but I still don't know necessarily if I like that in my Karate Kid movies, if that makes sense. So that I was very 50-50 on, because it looked decent for the film that it was actually in. However, I don't know if I want that in the Karate Kid franchise. So it comes there. I do think that Jackie Chan's usage of Mr. Han as Mr. Han in this film, I was also very mixed on. He has more of a screen presence than Daniel does in this film. That's all I'll say. I'll talk about that a little bit later on in the film. But he, I think, does fit in the story, but as well, I do wish we got a little more of him, since, you know, the last film he popped up in was the Karate Kid 2010 remake, which was his first appearance. So I kind of wanted to see some more of him and possibly explore some of the lore that happened with the characters in the franchise, like what happened with Dre and all that. And, you know, and that the film doesn't really do that, unfortunately, so that kind of disappointed me a little bit. And final mixed aspect I have in here is the main love interest in the story. Now, don't get me wrong, I still think there's some pretty decent little chemistry between them both, and there's certainly moments throughout the film where I go like, oh, the romance is cute, but then there's also moments where I felt like they could have developed it a little bit more, but they decided to have a shorter runtime. That is mixed on. Now let's move on to the bad, and I actually have quite a few. It's not probably like I if you think quite a few, it's four negatives. The formulaic Karate Kid stuff at the end of this film is one of my negatives. So as I said before in the beginning of this review, with the whole entire for taking the film in a completely different direction thing that it did with the first half of the film. Second half is very formulaic Karate Kid stuff with the tournament and everything, and to be honest, it didn't really feel like it connected with the first part of the story at all. Where very much it feels as if both could be their own respective stories, and they decided, nope, we're going to implement them both into this movie. So I was very disappointed by that, yeah, I was a little disappointed by that. As well in here, Daniel LaRusso's usage in the film. So I'm a big fan of that character from the Karate Kid movies, of course. But in here, you can basically just take him out of the film, and the film will still be the same. Like, it doesn't matter that he's in here at all. He only comes later on in the film just to help with the tournament. That's it. I think that the villain in here wasn't anything to write home about. Basically, there's nothing stand out about him in my personal opinion. He's acted fine, but the character himself doesn't stand out. Oh, I'm just a bully. I bully people and all that. So, and then, you know, final act stuff, whatever. So, there's nothing that stand out about him compared to, like, the other villains in this franchise. For example, Kreese, Terry Silver, then, as well, Johnny in the first film, too. So, like, it just, I don't know why they decided that, I wish they could have developed him a little bit more. Maybe there was a cut of this movie that probably implemented some stories in there, maybe made him a little sympathetic, kind of similar to Johnny with the first Karate Kid, but it doesn't really do that in the film, so. Finally, the fast pace in here. So, I kind of, okay, so at the first part of the film, it wasn't very fast paced. It felt like it was very very decently paced. But then when you get later on to the film, to the karate tournament stuff, particularly like in the first two fights, it goes by super fast, and it feels as if you could have maybe focused on the first fight a little bit more, but they didn't do that, so that kind of disappointed me a little bit as well. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just my thoughts on the Karate Kid Legends. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on the film down below. But before we end the video, let's bring out the Axig Nita. And And unfortunately, I'm gonna give this a Toxic Goodness and a
Yum.
Toxic Disappointment, a C+. I originally was gonna give the film a B-, but I said to myself, let me sleep on it and see what I feel like the next day about now that my thoughts have settled on the film. So right now, I'm thinking C+ range. It's watchable, but it's a disappointing film, to say the least. I think this is probably in my top 5 most disappointing movies of the year, top 10. But there's parts of this film that I think are enjoyable. That doesn't make it a true drag or anything. And it's definitely not a bad movie in this franchise. The only bad film outright that I think is bad in the Karate Kid franchise, that's a lot of bad. I don't know why I said that so many times, is Next Karate Kid. That's the only film I, period, think is a terrible film. But as for the other ones, this pretty much goes right next to Karate Kid Part 2 for my ranking, really, on which one I like more. I think overall as a whole, I do think I prefer Karate Kid Part 2. We'll have to see what I think going into the big ranking I have planned tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But with that being said, stay tuned for that, and I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace out.